Hello. I'd like to spend just a few minutes to take you through an update on the Access for English Language Learners assessment and where that is as far as MMSD is concerned, what's going on. So to bring you up to date, this short little presentation should help you out. If you have questions, as always, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. So a little bit of background. Federal law requires that all English learners take an annual assessment to see how they're progressing on English language proficiency. That particular assessment is the WIDA Access for ELS for the state of Wisconsin. It is computer-based, but it cannot, I repeat, it cannot be given virtually. That's both from the state, the feds, and the vendor. Some other things that you might be interested in if you have not done this before or don't remember, there are 4 different domains that are assessed. Listening and reading typically need to go first so that they are scored on computer, and that will give the appropriate level for the next 2 portions, which are speaking and writing. Kindergarten students will not be using the computer. This is a face-to-face with manipulatives and a conversation that's had between them and their teacher. Grades 1 through 3 do everything on the computer except for the writing portion, as keyboarding is not an expectation that first through third graders have, at least to be proficient enough as to write within the time frame. And finally, materials will be arriving in schools, specifically elementary schools this week, the week of the 1st through the 5th. Next week will be the secondary schools, and alternate access assessment for those students who have IEPs and are also English language learners will be arriving as soon as possible. As soon as they arrive in the district, we will be getting them out to schools. So you may have heard that DPI has put forth to the federal government a waiver. Here is what the waiver is going to be for if it is approved by the federal government, which may not happen until the end of May. First of all, test participation must be at least 95% is part of the federal accountability. We said 100% before. Schools are penalized for anything less than 95% participation. This is something that the state is trying to waive so that test participation would not be penalized if it is lower than 95%. Also, tied directly to this is ESSA accountability and identification. So accountability purposes, this is also part of the waiver. What is not part of the waiver is a removal of responsibility for testing. So we still must test all English language learners. So that is not part of the waiver, just the participation rate and the accountability pieces. Something to think about. Title III funding is based on, at least partially, on the number of students who take the language proficiency test. What happens when they don't test? Theoretically, they are not counted as English language learners. DPI is working right now to figure out how this is going to take place, as we know that we will not have 100% or even 95% of our English learners taking this test. Hopefully that this will not affect the funding, and DPI has said they're working to get to that point. As far as professional development, if we look back, this is something that both OMGE and my office of Assessment Administration, we've been working on ensuring that we have people who have the professional development. We've been talking to our staff since October and have been saying that this is something that is needed. So hopefully, and I know there was a job alike day in, I believe, January on a Wednesday. And so most of the professional development should already have been completed. However, one of the things that we're taking a look at is if you have low numbers of staff in your building who can give access, there is no additional support from outside of your school. My office, nor OMGE have additional staff or funding to fund additional staff if they were even available. Typically, it's a use of substitutes, but that is not a possibility this year. So additional staff members may need to have access to the professional development. If that's the case, please send me the name of who needs to have the access, and I will open up that on the WIDA website for them, send them the address, and set them up in an account. All right, expectations from the state. First of all, regardless of what instructional model we are in, whether it's virtual, hybrid, or all in person, all across the state, every school district is expected that all English learners will be tested. This becomes a little problematic since no virtual testing options are provided. So that means, even though it's computer-based, it is only face-to-face assessment. The testing window for access is open right now. It closes on April 30th, and it may be extended by the state. They're in conversation as to whether that goes to the end of May, maybe even into June. Looking at options, I think we need to continue to work towards getting our students assessed, regardless of any possible extensions, but we know that this is a priority. Now, scheduling. I've worked with all the access coordinators and shared information with them, but my office will put out, in conjunction with others in central office, a safe testing protocol document this week. I'll send it out by the end of this week and post that as well. A couple of things from that: flexibility in scheduling is important. So understanding that this is a mandate and that we need to do the assessment, how this happens within a normal day, if there is such a thing anymore, may need to change. We need to plan for both student and staff absences, so don't wait until the very last week of the window to actually do the assessment. And working on right now a uniform method of declining to test. There will be a letter shared with the schools to send out to families that will have several pieces of information describing why we're testing, and offering a district-wide declining to test, since there is no opting out of access testing. That will be a document that will be within that letter and posted on the website. If you do have any questions, please take a look at the website or call me or email me. The best way of getting a hold of me is through email. So, brief overview, more information out to buildings as quickly as possible. And please, again, don't hesitate to contact me if you have questions or concerns. Thank you.